What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pickleball podcast. Joining us this week, a very special guest. He may or may not be the sponsor of the tiny violin of Sam Querrey. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, a quick thanks to our sponsors before we get going with this one, starting with Pro XR, the official paddle of MLP, the only paddle custom fit for your grip. Knockaround, the official sunglasses of MLP, quality shades that won't break the bank. Aura Organic, the official nutrition partner of Major League Pickleball. Transform your health with plant-based nutrition from Aura. As always, every week, I'm one of your hosts, Mish McMahon, former Michigan volleyballer, current sports broadcaster, one of the voices of Major League Pickleball, counting down the days to Daytona. And as always, the infamous four-time Survivor contestant, former pro cyclist, former college swimmer. He's the wisest mullet on the pickleball tour. He is Tyson Apostle. There it is. Give us a flick in the wind. And joining us now is a man who started his career with the New York Yankees. He's built several pro soccer teams. And now his newest empire, Major League Pickleball. He's the chief operating officer of the DC Pickleball team. Adam Behnke is joining us on this week's episode. Adam, hi. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with the obvious, Mesa. MLP Mesa was awesome. You were a new time part owner, new time to the sport, to Major League Pickleball. So what was your experience like if you had to encapsulate it?
Oh my gosh, it's a great place to start. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this and MLP in general. I went into the events, asking myself, what is this possibly going to be like? And how much hype is this really going to live up to it? 1,500 people, I think, packed shoulder to shoulder at center court, was one of the most electric sports environments I've ever seen. And I tried to objectively take myself out of that and not be biased because I'm in love and obsessed with pickleball, just like a lot of people have found themselves falling into recently. But if you have any ounce of competitive juices in your body and you walk into that just not knowing what to expect and you sit down, you can't look away. It's so fast paced, so exciting. The energy, the music, the people, you just wanted to be there enjoying every bit of it. So I can't wait for Daytona. I'm already counting down the days. Obviously we have, some winning to do, hopefully in Daytona, and get some revenge, but so cool.
We'll get to the winning here in a second. But if Mesa is the first time you've experienced this, how did you come upon pickleball? What made you and your group choose pickleball?
Yeah. So, personally, my grandfather's been telling me about this for 10 years now. And
if only 10 years ago we would have gotten on it.
I know. And I called him the other day and I said, Grandpa, I got to tell you about what I just saw. Professional pickleball with 1,500 people around a court going absolutely berserk. I was like, is this what you have been doing for 10 years? Why have you not told me about this sooner? I was like,
He's like, I have, grandson. You just weren't listening.
Pretty much. Exactly. But then, we saw pickleball as such an interesting opportunity from a sports investment perspective. The group is involved in other things in La Liga with a team called Necaxa, New Zealand Breakers out in New Zealand, an esports team, and have had hands in other teams before. This one is so unique because it's just I know I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now, but I honestly, just from an objective perspective coming into this, it crosses so many sections of our society. The fact that a 10-year-old kid can play against a 100-year-old person and it could be an even match, male, female, everything alike. That is fascinating. That is an awesome sport, awesome anything to be a part of. And the fact that there's professionals that are better than all of us at it and that can show us kind of the path forward and be role models with the sport, it has so much potential. And it was a no-brainer for us to get involved.
I love that.
I mean, objectively, it's cool to see a 10-year-old girl excel at the sport. But when you get beat by a 10-year-old girl on the other side, it's for some reason not as uplifting for me.
So let me tell you, my first ever pickleball match, playing against anybody competitively, it was against a 56-year-old woman in Columbia, Maryland, and she kicked my ass. I had no chance out there. She literally had me running back and forth, thinking, I was lost. I was like, this is amazing, and I need to keep playing more and more, and just so cool that it can span across all different ages, genders, the whole thing. It's beautiful.
We need to start a spinoff side of this podcast of the most embarrassing loss you've ever had in pickleball? Because all of us have been humbled at some point. I would say, including the pros, when we start the sport. But I want to backtrack to the DC Pickleball Club sending shockwaves through the draft when you picked Sam Querrey at number 1. Pickleball enthusiasts some were critical of the decision. Others loved it. Break us back through that decision-making process. Why Sam at number 1? What made him that choice? And then how do you feel about the choice now?
Oh, we were just as excited about it today as we were the first time we thought about bringing Sam on. And it's gotten better every time we interact with Sam. He's an awesome guy. But we were like, why not be bold? I mean, there's only one chance to have the first ever pick in this draft. So why not go out and with a big swing and see what happens? I mean, you should have seen the interaction or the reactions from the people that were on the Zoom, the draft. Like, people were cursing immediately, like, whoa, what the, like, it's like, we brought in awesome. Sam, it's like, oh, that was that big of a deal. We almost didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be until we saw everyone's reactions. And it was like, oh, did we make a mistake? And then, you get to know Sam and start playing with him, and he's a competitor. We believe in him as just a competitor. He's going to get better every single day.
What was the reaction when you're saying that? Like, the reaction, was it positive, negative, 50-50? What was it, just like shock?
I think it was pure shock for most. And others were like, wow, this is actually happening. Because Sam had been talked about quite a bit. And I don't know if anybody realized or was sure if and when Sam was going to get drafted in that draft. But, I think Sam did a great job kind of marketing himself to the different owners. And you've talked to him about that before, where he kind of sent out teasers and videos and all that stuff. But I think it was mostly like, whoa, I didn't think he was going to go number 1. And like, Sam represents so much for that tennis to pickleball transition that, bam, doors open. It didn't take any time at all. Like, guns a-blazing, floodgates are open. Here we go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Has he given you any feedback as to where he's at now since event number 1?
Yeah, so he's such a competitive guy, like super. The thing I love about Sam is he is so self-deprecating and real, but also super competitive. And so he rides that awesome line of just like being real and knowing where he's at, knowing that he has to improve and he wants to improve, but also just being like so cocky at the same time of like, I'm going to be the best player in a few months, no matter what. But I do think it was kind of a reality check. Like, okay, I do have some more work I need to put in and keep going. And I want to win here because I hate walking away, getting knocked out in the group stage. Like, we have to do better. We have to win. And he's working on it for sure.
Cue the tiny violins as we promised at the beginning.
We're gearing up for Daytona. It's end of March. So,
almost
less than over a month away. Yeah. What are you doing to prep? Are you bringing your team back together before then? Are you in touch with these players every day? Like, what is the buildup to Daytona, or what will be the buildup? I know we're still a little ways out, but I'm assuming there's some game plan there.
For sure. Yeah. So, after Mesa, we decided that nobody was allowed to fly home. We took them all with us, and they've been training 24/7 for the last 3 weeks since Mesa, and they're not allowed to leave until 3 days before the event. So they're training really hard right now. They're surviving. They're doing well. I promise we're going to come out alive and do much better than we did in Mesa. No, all kidding aside. They're all doing their PPA, PP tournaments, keeping sharp, and we're consistently having conversations with them on a regular basis, watching what they're doing, live and or online. And, every single week we're talking about what people have done, what their performance looks like, where we can improve. And then we're going to try to get together at least a week in advance of Daytona, maybe do a little Airbnb action in Daytona, spend some time in the sun, get everybody together again, and gain some momentum going into that initial group stage. And hey, I don't know who made the draw last time, but we better get a better draw than the Breakers and Utah Diamonds. Like, that was pretty messed up for our first ever round.
We witnessed Brooks do the draw live. So no, there was no tampering or anything. He was pulling stuff out of this spinny barrel thing.
Man, I hope that barrel treats us better next time.
The team's coming in tan. That's one of the, you said, get them in the sun, get that vitamin D.
Yeah, exactly. Just increase that, positive vibe, feel around everybody. We think the more energy we can bring on Thursday, the better. It was so cold. It was like 35 degrees in Mesa, Arizona on that Thursday. And we
cold.
We looked like we were frozen. It was brutal. So we're going to thaw out and get after it on Thursday in Daytona.
So I want to ask you, I play recreational pickleball.
Sure.
And even at that stage, when your partner kind of screws it up or loses and it's like, it's your partner's fault, like I can't help but be a little bothered still and like side eye them and be like, hey, what's going on? Yeah. But I'm imagining like at this level in a team format like MLP, that has to be there. Can you feel that? Is that like in the back of your mind somewhere? Are you like, hey, so-and-so, if you would, I don't know how that totally works there, but somebody's got to blame somebody for losing, right?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And that's what I love about our team is everybody shoots each other straight. Like Shelby will just tell you like, hey, this is what's going on, and vice versa. Stefan, he's a talent. That guy is like our court general. He's going to tell you how it is, good, bad, or ugly. And that side eye turns into, I'm looking straight into your soul and I'm going to tell you what's going on. And we're going to make sure we work this out. But yeah, you can't help but walk away feeling like, man, come on, like do better. Like we had that point and we know what we worked on previously, or we tried this one tactic over another. And you're like, I did everything I could, but then they find, I don't know, some sort of weakness or whatever it may be in the other partner, and all of a sudden start exploiting it, and it almost feels helpless on the other side of the court. So it is a challenge for sure, but that's what I love about the team. Like we spent time together coming into the season, and so when we were having challenges there in some of those games and matches, like people were willing to tell each other how it was and talk it through, and that's still the case right now as people go back and forth and have their own tournaments.
So how was it? What was the vibe exiting Mesa? Like Shelby said something, you said Stefan said something. Are you going to share that information, or is that top secret? Like, is it going to hurt somebody's feelings?
Well, that's why Sam's in hiding right now. He's still working through
He's still hiding. He has to become number one by the end of March.
He's locked in.
Okay. Good.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. What went into the draft strategy for you guys? Obviously, other than Sam at number one, what else were you guys thinking based on who was available at each position?
For sure. So we kind of struggled with the idea of male versus female first, like what's top priority? Where does that draft kind of order go? And then of course you're playing off what you're reacting to what you're seeing from the other teams and the other owners and whatnot. So you go in with this strategy and you're like, best case scenario, this is how it's going to go. From pick number one, it all goes out the window. And now you're moving 100 miles an hour, trying to see what's happening next, predict maybe what the next person's going to do. And you have plan B and C kind of planned out as well, but then that just gets chucked out the window. So you might as well just light it all on fire and go in and really have to figure out one after the next, what's best available, how that works with the other teammates. If I pick a guy here and the other team picks the next best guy or girl, what does that mean for them, my subsequent picks? So it was really a good experience for us because I think most would have probably started by picking a really strong female and not taking such a risk on Sam. But, we believe so much in the way that Sam is going to progress. And of course, this would benefit us more if we had all year long instead of just 2 more events. But also, Sam just brings a lot of excitement to our team and our brand. So as we launch this, it's like, let's have some fun. Let's bring Sam into the mix. He's going to get out here and talk about GC pickleball team and bringing the tennis world into the pickleball world. We want to be a part of that conversation, and we want to go on this ride with Sam together and see what happens. And so far, so good. It's been really, really solid. But the draft itself is intense. I mean, you get into that war room and it's just like they give you a few minutes and it feels like it's 10 seconds. And so it's a place it's like a hot seat for sure for a full hour and a half. It's intense. Well,
let's talk about that for a second. So you go in, you guys pick Sam very first, which probably to the relief of a lot of other teams were like, oh, I can still choose the person I wanted to choose now. 100%. We thought that, so that probably didn't cause like them to have to go back, but then each pick after that causes somebody to reshuffle their assessment of who they're going to pick. Exactly. Sam also coming from tennis probably isn't at this point during the draft doesn't have his finger on the pulse of professional pickleball as much. Who's helping you make those decisions on who's the second pick, who's the third pick, who's the fourth pick? Like, who was doing that for you?
Yeah, so we have a guy named Daniel J. Howard, DJ Howard. He's been around in the pickleball space for a while. He came in and helped us with the draft and was able to give us a lot of good insight on talent that he's seen for some time now in the tournaments, locally, et cetera. And that was kind of our pickleball wisdom that we were gaining from kind of the insider. Because as we found very quickly and as we expected, you get into the pickleball world and everybody knows everybody and everything about everyone as well, whether it's the gossip, the good, the bad, the ugly, from who's done what in the past, what trash talk they are dealing with and beef they have, to just like how this person performs next to me or across the court from me. So that was super interesting. It has been a very fun storyline to kind of follow as we've gone to more of these events and talked to more of our players. I think you could do a whole like real world Major League Pickleball and it'd be a super successful show. So that might be
you're right.
I have some contacts with MTV too. What gossip have you been hearing?
Give us the tea.
You don't have to be in the hot seat, Adam. Just pour it all out.
Pour it out. Okay.
I mean, have you heard anything about me? What have people been saying about me?
Well, I was hoping you were going to say you're entering the shuffle draft here, and I don't know. Moves might be.
Well, I also, if Sam keeps improving, you'll be able to select him for the Premier League in a handful of months, right?
So this topic is super interesting, and I don't know to what level this could go to turning into a realistic rule that goes into the rule book here, but I would love the opportunity to have a player on your team that if they go from challenger to premier level rating,
they stay with you.
Or you have first right of refusal at least to that player. Because I can guarantee you Stefan is going to be in the premier draft. And it already hurts me to think that, like, I cry thinking Stefan's not going to be on our team in the second half of the season. Like, it's daily. Like, I see a highlight of Stefan. I see a picture of Stefan. I'm like, oh my God. I only have two more months with this guy. It's just so sad. You know,
Yeah.
two more events. That's all we get.
And have you been talking to MLP about that? Like, let us keep the people that graduate to the Premier League?
And that's what I love about the league. And that's what's so cool about starting a league and teams from nothing is that you have such a voice and an impact and a seat at the table. You know, most of us as humans appreciate having some impact or adding value to the world and having our voice heard. The MLP is like great to be able to do that with. You know, we all brainstorm ideas all the time. Of course, they're drinking from a hot fire hose, hearing from 24 different groups all the time, and maybe some interests don't align, but they're doing a good job working it out and listening at least and trying to figure out what's best for the competition structure for both short term and long term.
I actually love that idea, honestly. Like, I haven't heard that before, but I think like it would be really awesome to see, you know, DC Pickleball Club is in Premier League, second half of the year, and they take one or two players with them, and every team has that option to take their challenger players with them to Premier level.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, like seeing Stefan go and play for the Hard Eights after we got knocked out in the group stage, we were watching every single one of his matches and games, and like he was great. And that was the first like moment that it hit me that Stefan's going to be wearing a different jersey in the second half of the season. And that's when I had to go, you know, talk to my therapist.
Yeah. Well,
really sad.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll figure out a way. But I mean, worst case scenario, you're going to see Stefan at the events still.
For sure. We'll give a high five here, man.
Let's talk about the supplemental draft coming up.
For sure.
So right now, and I have the dates and the outline here from Brooks Wiley, the commissioner of the league.
Oh yeah.
The deadline for players to apply. So if you are a professional player above a certain level, want to put in your application for the Challenger supplemental draft, that's the end of this month, the 28th, and then they show you that list as owners the 1st of March, and then you, as an ownership, must disclose confidentially the players you are dropping from your team, if any.
Yes.
So even if you wanted to tell us if you were dropping and who, you couldn't because of the confidentiality here. And then on the 3rd,
you could if you wanted to. Just kidding.
On the 3rd, the Major League Pickleball will take
and the gossip.
Stir the pot.
But the people that are getting dropped from these teams are going to go into the draft again. So Major League Pickleball then goes to all the teams and say, here are all the players that were dropped from their previous team so that they're included there. And then you guys all get to pick. Are you looking forward to that process, dreading that process? What is going through team owners? Can you speak more in general based on on being a team owner?
It's tough. It's totally tough because, you think about it in a few different aspects. One, we have 2 events left in the first season before we redraft entirely and go to the premier level. So it's like, do you even take a risk dropping somebody and going to get somebody that might be better on paper perhaps, but has a terrible event in Daytona and was actually worse than the player that you may or may not drop? Or the inverse, do you roll the dice and look at somebody that may have a ton of upside and may knock it out of the park and just hit, grand slam that day, and they make the biggest difference for you? The other interesting aspect is what teams need who and is male or female and where they draft, because they flip it on its head. So Columbus, who had a tough showing, obviously in MLP, they are going to have the first pick. Going into Daytona. So they may get a major upgrade going into Daytona, which then where does that put them on the level of the playing field? And does that mean then we should make a move to maybe think we're going to have to keep up? Or do we stick with our status quo? We trust the team and we roll with it as is, thinking that even if they do find somebody that's an upgrade for them, we still are at a better place. We're still in a better place as our team, because I don't know, if we didn't get thrown into the group stage of death, perhaps we would have saw ourselves in the semifinals or the finals with the Utah, the Black Diamonds and or the Breakers. So there's a lot of nuances to it, just based on what other people are going to be doing and who needs what at what time. And that's where kind of the chatter comes in, is like we're talking to our players, trying to hear what their perspective is. We're talking about it internally from an ownership group, and really just trying to get a pulse on who's looking for what and why.
Well, and then I think also a very, very tricky aspect of this is who's going to drop players from their roster, because that can impact your decision a lot too. Like maybe you're not even thinking of dropping anybody, but a team drops somebody that you've always wanted, or somebody that you saw played particularly well, and for whatever reason it's a good fit for you. That only gives you a day or two to, make that decision. It's not like you can think about it for weeks and weeks.
No.
There's got to be people that are willing and able on on your program to make those decisions very rapidly.
Definitely. And the toughest part is, from a personal perspective, we love our players. We've gotten to know all of them. Great people, great personalities. Like you'd tell
us if they weren't, right?
Oh yeah. If they were absolutely awful, I would certainly tell you. It's like you build relationships with people, and we don't have to break up with them. Like it's really hard, and we want, the thing is that, and also if you had a full season, like if we were playing all year long, I think you have definitely you have a different outlook on who you're drafting, who you're dropping, who you're not, if you're sticking with your team, what their upside is for the next 2 events versus 5-6 other events. It's a very different thing. And so, it's almost like trying to catch lightning in a bottle with these events leading into 2024. I get the whole setup trying to lead us to that promotion relegation in 24, which makes a ton of sense, and I'm super stoked about. But this first year, man, it is interesting to play with all these different elements.
I was going to dive in with that concept with you because you're a soccer guy. You have prolific background in building pro soccer teams. So with that knowledge, dive deeper into the promotion and relegation system, and to those that are not familiar with it in American sports, why it makes the most sense with what you know about Major League Pickleball.
Definitely. I am so happy that there's finally a sports league that's taking the risk and making the move of doing that in our sporting world. It's one of the most talked about things in all of soccer in the States, and as to why not, how it works, how it doesn't. And now there's finally like a blank enough canvas where we can make the move with Major League Pickleball. And so going back to what I said before, I just love the fact that we have essentially a blank canvas here, and we can put our collective mind share together to be building really interesting, cool processes around a sports league that maybe otherwise you couldn't do in some more traditional leagues. And that's why we know that Major League Pickleball and pickleball is here to stay forever. And I don't mean to bash my former like soccer background, but I don't know. Pickleball is going to be a top 5 sport in our lifetime. Like, it is going to be very watched, very involved. People love it all across the country. Who knows when it's going to go global, but right now it has so much momentum in the States. You're going to see the advertising dollars come in. You're going to see the media rights pick up, and millions and millions of people are going to watch it. And I think, what's like, watch out soccer, watch out hockey, like MLP is right around the corner.
That's interesting that you say that about it being, a brand new league. So the promotion and relegation makes sense, or you can implement that. Because as Michelle was asking the question, I was like, how would you do that with the NBA now? You'd like just chop the NBA in half, because you couldn't take like a D league or something like that and have them become like, the lower level league, because the talent is just too different. And so like this is the only place that it works where the talent pool is deep enough to actually make it work.
Definitely. And there's scarcity in roster spots. Like, the NFL has so many guys on their roster. NBA has a larger roster. I mean, you're looking at these soccer clubs. They have 25, 30 people. Four, that's it. 96 players in your whole league. There's going to be a point where I just can't wait to see how this whole thing shakes out with how many teams MLP ultimately ends up having, and what that means for promotion relegation as well, given that so many people are playing, so many people are improving. What is going to be that gap between a Ben Johns, best in the world, Annalie Waters, and the 95th, 96th player that's in the league? And how is that going to affect like all the other players that are trying to get into that upper echelon? With like swimming and track and field, like, people make the Olympics or don't make the Olympics by 0.0001. Is that going to be what it's like with the duper ratings or pickleball? Time will tell.
Yes.
So interesting.
I think so. I think it will have to, as more and more athletes come into the sport, to focus on pickleball specifically. Cycling was the same way. It was just like the difference in fitness level based on physical tests from the winner of the Tour de France and the person who took 200th in the Tour de France was like 1%. Yeah. It's like insane. So, and I think that as it gets deeper and deeper and the talent gets deeper and deeper, I think that's exactly right. It's going to be a percentage or even decimal points in skill level difference.
Absolutely. And that's where this promotion relegation thing is going to be fascinating to see too. And the way that this shakes out from your initial draft picks to how we're eventually one day trading, signing players. Are these going to be 10-year contracts like you see in other sports? Are these going to be annual contracts like sometimes you see in soccer more so? It's going to have such a ripple effect. All of these decisions and all these conversations that we're having now and every single week, with the way this whole thing's structured, that it's like, stay tuned. Like, you want to see how MLP is going to develop. It's a fascinating storyline because there's just so many elements of it that sure could fall in line with your typical playbook for success with other sports leagues. But there's also just like so much trailblazing or risk taking that we can all make, and it may change the sports landscape of American sports forever. So why not give it a shot?
Yeah. What would you say? How would you explain the risks to that, if any, or any drawbacks from your perspective?
Yeah, depending on, it's really comes down to the money, how the money flows within the teams and across the league. When a team gets like relegated out of the English Premier League, they immediately see like $150+ million hit to their revenue stream. So their top line gets majorly affected because of just media rights alone. So depending on how MLP and we structure the media rights deals, or wherever your primary revenue sources are coming from, which mostly is media rights in sports, and how that gets divvied up across teams, that's going to have a major impact on the significance of promotion relegation and how the teams remain equitable from a player competitive perspective too.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could also see pickleball. I could see this also restructuring to some degree how we get our sports media, just as a maybe not that far. Just having my television background, I'm like envisioning all the changes that could come from all of this.
Totally. And that's what I really liked about this stream on Tennis Channel and YouTube, was that you captured the speed of play and the rate of play. When I was there watching it live, it was like, okay, if this looks as good as it does here in person, like fast paced if they capture that on camera, this has a lot of potential. And then going back and looking at the stream, I thought they did an excellent job with the 3 different camera angles and the fact that you can see the firefights right there back and forth. It's like, whoa, this is a fast paced game. Hands are quick, hand-eye coordination, reaction times. It gives you such a greater respect and understanding for how good these players are. So that's what it's all about, is I think being able to replicate that experience that we all felt right there in Mesa to the TV screen, to the digital space. And who knows, maybe there's other camera angles we can explore too. But again, that's what's so awesome about the league, is blank canvas, and you can try those things out.
Love
yeah,
that.
I agree. You talked about, and with the promotion relegation, that also not only the media rights affect people's bottom dollar, but if you're a player in the Premier League, at a certain point, you're going to be getting paid more by your sponsors. You're going to be getting, all of that. And so it's going to be very, very competitive the wider that gap becomes between Challenger League and Premier League.
Definitely.
Who would you sign for a 10-year contract right now if you were signing players for 10-year contracts?
Stefan. I would sign Stefan right now.
Okay.
That guy has unlimited potential. He is so talented. He's just court general. Like his IQ's through the roof. His work ethic's ridiculous. And he is just he's meant for this sport. Have you heard this guy's background? Like, he was an e-gaming champion back in 2006. I think it was Call of Duty. He drives a BMW on the racetrack in Austin, Texas. He's a race car driver. He was a tennis player, and he is an app developer as well. Like, the guy has so many fascinating things that make him an athlete, a very intelligent person, and he also is extremely fit because of his CrossFit habits. So, you have all these ingredients that go into this recipe for Stefan deserving a 10-year contract.
And I also heard he manages DC Pickleball Club social media. Is that correct?
Yeah, that could be right. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, it's possible.
Sometimes. Well,
That's why you see so much Stefan content.
Yeah, it's all Stefan highlights. I didn't know any of that about him. That's very fascinating, because he has the eye-hand coordination with the esports. He has that fast reaction, and I don't know how to put it with the race car driving, but it's very fast reaction, reflexes.
Yes.
Very fast reflexes. Yeah. And then he also has the brain with the developing and all of that stuff, plus tennis. So
exactly,
maybe he is the total package.
It sounds 100%. Like you're in love, Adam.
It's a bromance. I apologize.
You don't have to apologize for your feelings.
We need to get a sponsorship for BetterHelp to get this guy a therapist.
The worst part about it, the worst part about it is Stefan doesn't even know this. I haven't even expressed this to him.
He's going to find out. So when he listens to this,
he's going to find out live, essentially, with us. Yeah. So Thank you so much for helping us break the news. This is exciting developments for the team.
We got to get him on and dive into this interesting background of it.
It's going to make you stronger. I know it's going to make the DC Pickleball Club stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, if anybody was wondering, I don't represent Stefan in any sort of way. He's not paying me under the table for any of these things. I'm not an agent of any sorts. He's just a talent, man. He's a great guy. So, what is not to like?
But he should pay you after this.
Maybe he can help with the tiny violins for the rest of the team. Just put it into the donation jar. Yeah.
No, you know who you need to hire as a social media manager is Sam Querrey's wife, because she's the brains behind the operation over there. So I'm just saying.
Yes, 100%. She is very good at what she does. And Sam, I mean, he's a good actor too. It's a dangerous duo over there.
I want to ask you, Adam, what is your role with the team right now? You go to MLP Mesa.
Yep.
What is your interaction with the team? What are you doing? Are you sitting right behind the bench the whole time yelling at them? Are you trying to give pointers and they're rolling their eyes because they're I've been playing this sport for what is your role in person at the events?
For sure. It's an all hands on deck, like get involved with everybody type of operation with the teams. And that's what's so great about building a relationship with them is that while they don't look at me as a coach, they look at me as their biggest cheerleader, and they're for moral support. But I'm also running around capturing some content on the phone so that we can have stuff for our content library and building on social media. We're really adamant about telling their stories. So, not only was I helping with that, but also making sure that we got our new sponsor onto our jerseys with Stella Blue Coffee and Big Cat at Barstool. That was an amazing opportunity that came up, really going right into Mesa. So we were running around with Bobby and Fromuth and the whole group, making sure that the jerseys looked pristine and ready to go the next day.
That's cool.
And then of course, interacting with everybody around the area. We found some random fans in the stands, bought them DC Pickleball hats and handed out some t-shirts. So we're brand building, we're team building, and we're just really trying to do the best for everybody.
I love it. I think, the uniforms look really great. I think so. I think they look pro, they look sharp, they look clean.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I also have noticed with DC Pickleball, that you're on social media quite a bit. You're making a big splash and you're letting everyone know you're there. That is one of the teams that I always notice present on social media. Yeah. So I think you're doing it right.
That's awesome to hear. No, we really appreciate it. We think that the more that we can tell the story of DC Pickleball team, the players and everything, it just helps the overall league and our operation in general. The tide rises, all boats follow type of mentality. And, we love being interactive and telling our stories. So we appreciate everybody engaging with us and commenting and talking about, anything and everything to do with pickleball. So we're having a blast with it. It's, at the end of the day, just a lot of fun. And, I can't wait to see the day that we get to 1,000 followers on Instagram, which is up around the corner. Next is 5 and then 10 and so on and so forth. But, you can just tell the pickleball world just wants to see more and more pickleball content. And I'm glad that we're in the space and getting to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Cool. By the way, that's high praise from pickleball's fashionista, Tyson Apostle.
That is
telling
me.
you your team looks sharp. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Wait, Tyson, you didn't tell everybody that you helped us with the designs in Fila?
I just did. Yeah. I was not going to, but I like to work in the background but I had nothing to do with that for the record. I don't want to take any credit, but it is a beautiful design.
So this is not the time when you're going to go and grab the shirt from the closet that we sent you a few weeks ago.
Yeah. The full package.
The full kit.
Yeah.
I mean, we
might be a conflict of interest for me, but I will represent a full kit if you send it. Adam, if they had pickleball teams in college, I know we talked a little bit about, you were a runner in college. I was a swimmer, two of the most boring sports to participate in. Oh man, running though, I mean, at least you get to chit chat while you jog. Swimming, unless you had a kickboard, that was the only time you got to chit chat, was when your head was above water. 5 years, 10 years, they're going to have pickleball. They already have pickleball teams in college, but they're going to have, instead of clubs, they're going to have full teams. How nice would that have been for us?
Ugh.
I would have preferred it. Absolutely.
Same.
I mean, so much more fun. My knees would not be all bent out of shape these days. For longevity of health purposes, for more camaraderie and fun. People probably would have thought I was more interesting or cool to hang out with than just a runner in short shorts and a headband all the time.
I wasn't a Speedo. I had it even worse, bro. Actually, Speedo in college was respected, but in high school and junior high was the worst thing for your image as a boy growing up.
Totally. It's hard to recover from because you go back. You go back home and people are like, oh, that's that short kid. I've seen too much of your thighs. You're out.
But short shorts are in now. We love short shorts now. Do you not wear short shorts now?
Dude, I saw Manassi talking about how long his shorts were at MLP and he was pissed. I need him to be shorter. Where are the 5 inches instead of 9? I think he had 9. He was wearing Allen Iverson's, down to his ankle.
From the 90s.
I'm like, oh man, I get it.
Yeah. Short is in, and we were trendsetters back then, Adam, because, in the late 90s, early 2000s, people didn't wear short shorts and it was frowned upon, but, we stuck to our guns knowing that you can only wear oversized clothes for so many years before people realize they don't fit.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
There's time to bring the Speedo back, Tyson. Daytona Beach is just around the corner.
Michelle, you beat me to it.
Just have an MLP.
Oh, is that what Adam wanted to? Okay.
I was going to say, 100% agree. It's talking about getting tan and bringing the good, vitamin D. Like, you might as well shorten those steel shorts and see what happens.
Do you think I can get a 6-pack in 6-7 weeks? I don't know if I can. It doesn't matter anymore.
No,
I'm a
It
dad.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dad bod all the way.
People love it.
Rock it all the way to the ocean.
It's true. But that's the thing. Like, I'm just
I dare
stuck.
you.
I'm
You
stuck
won't.
in between. Yeah, I won't. I'm stuck in between where it's like, I'm not in shape, but I'm not like out of shape enough to be hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't think you're
Right.
ever going to be out of shape. It's not in your frame.
Yeah, you haven't seen me with my shirt off, but like I just
But you're right.
upsize.
I haven't seen the Speedo test.
I upsize my shirts purposely, and people are like, "Oh, you lost weight." I was like, "Nope, I just went to a large instead of a medium." It's a trick.
Oldest trick in the book.
Oldest trick in the book.
Genius. Works every
Really
time.
smart, Adam. Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram for recipes or life hacks like that.
Life hacks like that.
Yeah.
Man.
And the potato witchcraft,
Yes. Yeah.
which Adam doesn't know about yet. It's okay.
He doesn't
We
know
go
about
back.
that. My wife put potatoes on my kids' feet, because she read on Instagram that heals illness.
I've heard it works.
I listen. I'm a man of science, and
Yeah.
I'm going to say like there needs to be more studies done on
Right.
raw sliced potatoes on soles of feet as a healing mechanism.
It's my favorite story.
Definitely. I mean,
For sure.
Adam agrees. Yes.
but I appreciate the effort. I mean, I can't knock the effort. I have a friend who recently had their first child, and they were telling me that parents will do desperate things to make sure their
Anything.
kids are healthy and sleeping and all this
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
And so I can't
Why
wait
not?
for their equivalent of this potato witchcraft story, because it's right around the corner. I know it's coming soon. But I'm like, how far do parents go? That's a really good one. That's stretched my limit of imagination. The bar has been reset, in my opinion. I can't wait to see this next.
I wish we had a graphics team that could build us a graphic of Tyson's new getup for MLP Daytona Beach to have potatoes strapped to his feet in the MLP Speedo and whatever else colorful accessories he
I
chooses
have to do
bring.
all of that. Oh man, I might not come to Florida if I have to do all that.
I was going to say,
You
this
should go.
got out of control quickly. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
I know,
it was
sorry.
related to all these things, you know?
I didn't, Adam. I didn't think I did. I'll have to read the fine print on what I'm supposed to do here.
You know, the question is like, why even deal with a shuffle draft when you can just wear the shortest shorts possible, distract the opponents, and probably get some more points?
Genius.
Like, you don't
You're
have to deal
welcome.
with it. So, boom. Philo will be
Yeah.
sending us the shortest shorts in pickleball history this week. Get it done, and watch out for DC Pickleball Team in Daytona.
Yeah, and
Done and done.
with Sam Querrey being 6'6" and wearing short shorts, you know how much thigh is going to be showing?
It'll basically be a Speedo.
80% of his thigh will be showing.
He is a lot of leg, isn't he? If you like break
Yeah.
down the body, it's like a lot of leg. Yeah. I think that works in our favor.
And that will conclude this podcast. Follow us on our other podcast to listen to the rest of the Sam Querrey's measurements.
thigh
breakdown.
assessment.
Yeah. Adam, thank you so much for being here. Any closing thoughts or anything we missed that you want the world to know?
No, just thank you so much for getting involved with pickleball, Major League Pickleball. So excited to be a part of this. Thanks for following the team and our story. And we're just so pumped to be able to, move this operation along and hopefully help make pickleball one of the greatest sports of all time. So here we go.
Thank you. Amen.
See you in Daytona.
And yes,
Amen.
definitely. Will, do you have off the top of your head the social media handle for DC Pickleball Club?
Of course, DC Pickleball Team on Instagram, DC_pickleball on Twitter, and D.C Pickleball Team on TikTok.
And I've been calling it club this whole time, and you've never corrected me once. It's team.
Yeah, it's team. Here's the secret
Yeah.
behind it.
I think I got that wrong too.
Oh, it's okay. Here's the thing. DC
Yeah.
Pickleball Team, it took a lot of brainstorming to try to figure out what our team name was going to be. We were DC Dash, DC Dive, DC, all kinds of things. But why were we going to pick one just like random name out of the hat when we could just keep it simple, DC pickleball team and leave it open for maybe a future rebrand where we do a little crowdsourcing with the community. So doors still open on that. So I get the DC Pickleball Club. We just didn't want people to feel like it was a club you could sign up for and just like have a membership to. But DC Pickleball Team was strategic. We're a team and now there's the potential for it to be something new and fun and catchy down the road once we're in the premier level and never getting relegated.
Yes, never ever. Always staying in the top level, top echelon of the sport. And I'll be probably texting you every day, Adam, with a new mascot or team name, just as they pop into my head.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll put it on the whiteboard. Can't wait.
Yeah, you've got a whiteboard in your office. Okay, perfect. And that concludes Inside Major League Pickleball. Go ahead and follow Major League Pickleball on all major social media outlets. You can go to majorleaguepickleball.net to rewatch anything you may have missed in Mesa. And you can also follow along through their newsletter, all of the news and happenings, as well as subscribing to this podcast. That does it. See you next week. Bye.